sociale mediaplatforms vandaag de dag gaat kwaliteitsinhoud vaak onopgemerkt voorbij. Op Den krijgen gebruikers betaald voor het maken, evalueren en beheren van kwaliteitsinhoud. Contentmakers worden beloond op basis van de betrokkenheid en het bereik van hun bericht of opmerking. Contentbeoordelaars worden beloond op basis van de snelheid en resultaten van hun voorspellingen over welke content trending zal zijn of viraal zal gaan. Eigenaren van communities worden beloond op basis van betrokkenheid binnen een community. Kwaliteitsinhoud loont op Den.
Warheit is Bellengreek. I think that's what it was.
Guten Tag, the best I can do.
Yes. Okay. So this is the August 10, 2023 DENDAO Call. We weren't here last week, so thanks for giving us a break. But let's see here. I'm going to zoom in on this. How about that? So the agenda for this week. August LCP commitment phase is now open, and let's see here. We can go really quick. I'm going to share this tab, and we can kind of look. So top in lore right now is Animals with 2 million lore committed, 29 unique voters. Topping unique voters though is DENDAO influencers with 34 unique voters. So, there's a chance you could get the vegan layer or the fair contest layer to bump up. There's also a chance that, the election layer, man, that'll be needed if it isn't already.
It's starting to pop, that's for sure, in the media. So I'm hoping for that one.
Yeah. So, and that one's pretty close anyway. So get in there, make sure you commit your lore, figure out what you want to see created, and maybe it'll be like right now. If it ended right now, there would be two layers created, but sometimes they merge and you end up with one. And one of the answers to the question for the AMA this morning on Super Happy was potentially that too. Maybe we have too many communities and not enough people yet. So, something like that. You never know. So get in there and do that. Which brings up any next on the list. Should we make any adjustments to the number of layers? Should we say, okay, no more layers created for a while, or should we say something else? I don't know.
Me personally, I kind of like the way it is. If the unique vote count and the total lore are different, then 2 would be created, right?
Yeah.
So the maximum amount would be 2 being created, or 1 if they both share, like I think it was last month.
Yeah.
DeFi had the most votes and the most lore, so only 1 was created last month. I like it as is, but that's me personally talking. It depends on the DENDAO. If it be submitted, someone would put in a proposal to change that, then so be it. If it passes, I like it as is. Personally,
anybody who has a DENDAO lot can propose something, and I'm open-minded about any of it, because half of, especially with LCP, it's entirely fine to be experimental with it. If somebody said, hey, let's make the number 22 in unique voters, that's the winner. So,
right. I remember Hyperion Frequency had put something in like that. We passed it. That was interesting. That was fun.
Yeah.
Digging deeper into the list.
And
something skyrocketing to the top. I think we've had a couple of layers that were created in that manner that actually have been somewhat, successful. So
Yep. So that's awesome. And let's see here. We were gonna you want to hold the decentralization till the end? We can have a longer discussion.
If we could just cover the DIN app thing first, and have that discussion, I think.
And this is the mobile app in the Google Play Store and in the Apple App Store. So it is there right now. And to limited degrees of functionality. I've not tested it for a while. There have been a few things that are definitely that do not work in it. But maybe some of it did. And I do think it should be removed from the App Store or whatever, unpublished. Like maybe not like, oh, we're closing it down, just say, don't make it available anymore because it's not functional. That would be probably the right thing to do. We should probably have a vote for that.
It probably should be a vote. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
The other side of it would be, should we at the same time either totally open source it or put up an application if somebody wants access to the code because they're going to develop it, and then it's a ballooning question, because then it becomes, okay, we could open source it, some potential value, some risk. We could let people come in and request a handle to it so they could develop it to where it needs to be. But then we could also say, hey, we want someone to develop it, and we will reward you with some measure, and we have to decide how, of mining. And it could be related to the number of installs, or we could easily put something in the app that would let us track all of this use compared to the web use, right?
Right.
That might be a really future-proof thing to do.
My 3 items that I wanted to bring up in regards to this topic is, number one, obviously, if parts of it are not working or is failing, it kind of gives Den a black eye, which we don't want.
Right.
On the flip side, it being an app that does partially work, if users are aware that, and we constantly bring that up in, say, Super Happy Dragon Lucky, or in the roundtable discussions, or wherever, or consistently post that on Den, that the app is functioning, howbeit limited. Everyone should be aware that the app is still under development. We are in beta, a live release, so keep that in mind when using that app. The reason I say it, because I'm a little reluctant of taking it down, is only because, is that some sort of advertising functionality? Could we still gain additional users? I don't know. And that would be that's the reason. And the third item that I wanted to have for discussion is, I think Dave had mentioned in a post regarding the app that, in his opinion too, that probably should be taken down, was, if we take it down, is it harder to get it back up later? And is the pushback from, say, Apple and Android about decentralization, that they're not very comfortable with. And if we're moving towards a decentralization and we have the app up, is that going to be an issue where we're eventually Den won't even have an app because it is decentralized and the powers that be don't want it? So those, I don't know, I threw all 4 of them out there.
Right. Ron, hopefully, let's say we decentralize. If we put in something for the development and maintenance of the app, so people who are continually providing value could also get a mining share for their efforts. And we could then also make web as well. So web and mobile could be in that loop, and all of the approvals can be through DENDAO for long term. And this is nothing we're going to have anytime soon, but long term, it would be amazing if the governance capabilities were integrated into a GitHub or a Git source code control, so that we could approve new changes from anybody. Anybody can come in. So I'm gonna I'm going to Should DENDAO unpublish the mobile app in Google and Apple app stores? If approved, we can discuss further whether to open source and or make the DEN mobile app code available to developers.
Do you think it's going to be harder to reestablish it later if we do take it down?
I don't think so. I mean, if they were paying attention.
Let's assume that we are decentralized and we want to put it up or turn it back on, however you want to call it. Is that going to be a harder push, a harder sell?
I don't think so. Because let alone the ideal case would be, let's say developer X, just some kid somewhere, they put it up.
Right.
And it's just a mobile app front end for Den,
Right.
So, and at that point we could, if theoretically, let's say we have millions of users and there are multiple mobile apps, we could they could compete for some measurable feature integration, right? It's like,
I got you.
This one has the full set of features. They have LCP, they have governance, everything else, so they get more of the cut, more of the pie. So
that's clever.
That's what I've wanted to do forever, but it's like approve.
I think we had talked in the past too. It's kind of funny how some people are like, "Oh, it's got to have an app." You got to have some kind of adapt to be able to pull down versus no, it doesn't need it. You can always go to the web, to the cloud and pull it and interact. So I could see, maybe it's a generational thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And we've talked about this in the past. I mean, it kind of snuck up on us that younger people are less technically inclined than they used to be, which is so weird. Because
I was not expecting that.
Neither was I. It totally just took me by surprise. So anyway.
A whole nother discussion as to why, but right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm good with that for that.
Okay. So that's on there. Okay. Near-term implementation for leaderboard. Do we want?
That was something I brought that up.
Right. And I did talk to the devs. We did look at a couple of things, and we don't have anything like say really in depth, but all that data is available there. And the simpler the set of data, the better. Like say, do we want to start with layer metrics only first, or do we want to do layer metrics and user metrics? Because layer metrics would be super easy because we'd be able to pull the mining for each day and rank them. Potentially also grab, like say, simple things like number of content score. Like if a post is worth 5 and a reply is worth 1 or something, just add them up, right? Stuff like that. Subscribers, energy, how much energy goes into that layer, right?
Right.
Things like that would be relatively simple and easy to rank then. So maybe we could just do the layer one first. What do you think?
I like that idea. I never considered that. That's smart because there is a question about the user. We want to protect that to some degree, or make it pseudo anonymous. Like I had mentioned in the post that I didn't know what we would use, but an example was their ETH address, because unless you publish what your ETH address is, nobody's going to know who is who. So I do like that idea. The other thought that I had been thinking about since that posting was, rather than the next day, maybe we should just have it like the data, that it would be available every Monday, let's say, so that if there was an issue, maybe the dev
Weekly.
could respond to that would be during the work week, versus, let's say, making it available Friday night and then there's an issue and then nobody can mess with it over the weekend. You follow? And then the cutoff would, if it was weekly, the cutoff would be a Monday through Sunday, or let me say that, maybe a Saturday through Friday and then published on a Monday. I don't know, something like that, because I know we need a few days. Even though retroactively people post back or reply to something that's old or give energy to something that's old, because maybe they do a search and say, oh wow, that was a good post, or no, I disagree with that and I got to put something in, or I'm going to downvote this. So I don't know, on a weekly, I don't know when we would publish, or what. Let me say this: when would be the cutoff?
I mean, it's going to run automatically.
Saturday through Friday, and then post it on a Monday. The data.
I think it's fine to do, since this is layer. I think it'd be fine to do 7 days through Sunday. Midnight Monday it goes out.
Oh, okay.
That way, if it doesn't go out, then the dev will be there in the morning. It's like, oh, why didn't it run? Okay.
Right. So then Tuesday morning, boom, we would have the data about. Okay, good. Yeah, I like that.
Let's see here.
Monday through Sunday.
Metrics. Monday through Sunday. Do that. Monday through Sunday. Layer content score. Let's see here. Subscriber count.
And then where's that data going to be for someone to be able to pull up and do queries off of it?
It'll be an endpoint. I'll write it in here. I'll write it in here. Okay, so subscriber count, energy spent in each layer, matter mined by that layer. Let's see here, matter per lot for that layer.
Anything with tags, or no?
Yeah, why not? Tagging score, count of tag, or vote. All right, vote on the count. All right, tag vote. We could make an original tag worth more, but then you don't really want to push people to make more tags just for the purpose of making more tags. So we don't do that. So just say,
just tagging score.
We might want to do something about consensus scoring.
Oh yeah.
Whereas both on content and tagging, what's the average consensus? Is this more controversial, or whatever else? Okay, and then we'll say posted to Den.Social URL for download as probably CSV. Okay, that's okay.
Oh, okay, that's great. That would be outstanding.
That way, anybody can open it up in a spreadsheet.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I can play with it.
Yeah.
What about us? I guess spamming would count in the tag.
Okay.
I guess that would be in the tag. I'm wondering about downvotes and making sure we're capturing those as well.
Okay.
Negative energy. I don't know. I don't know how that would play out in this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just raw data. So
this would be aggregate. Like, you wouldn't get the individual votes yet until we do one of the other sets, because that's when it gets more complex.
I got you.
How do we give you this in a two-dimensional format? But
well, it's certainly a step forward.
This would
be a very simple, inexpensive way to get this out.
Yeah, and we can, it might be multiple files. It probably would be multiple files, but it'd be nice because it'd just be, okay, you just go to that date, pull them down, look at them, it'd be kind of cool. So that'd be fun anyway. We can figure out what kind of data is missing once you have it as well, right?
Right.
So, okay,
Okay,
I am
that's
going
good.
to create this one also. So we have two now.
Super. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Back to the agenda. Community input or feedback. Do we have any comments? We have one comment from you. So yeah, any feedback from anybody? And I don't think there were any questions. So let me refresh it just in case. Nope, no questions. Okay, so we can go straight to DIN decentralization.
Right. Super. There is a supposed social, and I have not dug into it. It's called DESO, which just stands for decentralized social media. Okay. Derox had posted something about it. I haven't signed up or looked at it or anything. I was shocked. It's one of those things where VCs have gotten involved and money is thrown at it, and they're sitting on supposedly $100 million, and they can scale, and I don't know, and it's all decentralized. I have no idea how, what, when, where, or anything about it. I just thought that was if they're sitting on $100 million and they're going to light up the world with a big marketing budget or whatever once they finish I guess once they get ready to be released, and they're going to light up the world with all this money and advertising for DESO. Um, my hunch is they're still going to have some severe censorship.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm just playing a hunch there, or shall we say I'm plugging in a higher probability based off of historical events of new social media companies and existing ones. So having said all that, I still believe that Den.Social, the people are out there hungry for the truth. They want information. They want to tell the world how they see things without having to worry about censorship. And censorship is done by the community. So people are upvoting what might be more of interest or they agree with or feel that it's a better quality of content, and downvoting the reverse. And I think that's where a little bit about what DIN is supposed to be about, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So making DIN twofold. One, making DIN decentralized. I don't want it to create a big target on our back as we're just trying to get going.
Yep.
You know, but it is a niche that's being unfulfilled, in my opinion. And can have a better ability to attract, in America, I'll say, both sides of the aisle rather than just one and creating an echo chamber. The last thing we want.
Yep.
And that would be, I guess, my push.
Well,
me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but how do we avoid that target? We don't want to be that target.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would see it as like, let's say, and of course, this could be all the way from one side to the other that you could make it work. The architecture would work. So let's say we deployed to something like Flux or similar, where it is hosted on multiple nodes, and we've already done all the engineering work to know that we don't have any issues with people cheating or messing around with it running if it's running on their machine, right? Because I don't know how those are deployed or anything else, right? How random they are. Those are some of the questions we have. Imagine if you had that, and we said, okay, we could either go to the extreme and say every layer is literally deployed on its own. It'd likely be more expensive to do that, and so the layers would have to, own up to it. That, hey, I'm gonna help this layer go, right? The other side would be you could take all of the LCP layers that are more vetted, let's say. They're at least vetted very clearly by a decentralized community. People have called out some of them in the past, some of the proposals that we weren't comfortable with creating. I think one of the adult ones was actually won, and we said, look, if it wins, we can't put it out there until we have an over 18, just so that we aren't running afoul of, some law somewhere. So we did that. We put it in. It went public. It's all good. I wonder if all of the LCP layers, let's say, could run as core, and that way, if you have a community and you want to run it yourself, then there's a very clean way to deploy it and plug it in with the API to participate with the Matter mining, and so then boom, here it's all plugged in. And at the same time, you could also do a private one that you only have invited people to, that nobody else can see, and you don't participate in the economy. And we already have that kind of, but this would be more decentralized. So if you were a protester in some country that doesn't want you to protest or something, you could open up your own community very quickly. It'd be totally decentralized, and it could help you, right? Because you wouldn't have to worry about them coming in and saying, "Hey, you need to shut this off," right?
Right.
And I don't know. It would be more. How do I say? Two interesting things. It'd be more federated, at least kind of a federated layer of communities, which might get us comparisons to something like. I'm blanking on it. What is there's a social network platform that is federated, and it's not Mammoth. It's
Mines? No, it's not Mines.
Oh, no.
I thought it was Mammoth.
Well, it's not called Mammoth. Is it?
Or it's not called Mammoth anymore. But I'm.
Anyway, but it does not have decentralization of management, right? So, and I wish I could. Sorry.
Well, even okay, who it is irrelevant at this point. This move, but that's exactly what we're trying to get away from. We don't want a group of individuals to become a target either.
Exactly. Mastodon,
yeah. Mammoth. Hey, you were close.
Yeah, I knew. It's like, why is that not coming to me? Because they're both start with the M. That's what.
Well, they're almost the same species.
Yes. So, essentially, we would the guy, and there's one key piece that we probably should be figuring out as a community. What real world communities need a customizable, advanced governance system, right? That's if you ask me, I think that's one place that Den has really shined, and we've introduced very new concepts. Totally, I would say, pioneered the use of behavior as a governance mechanism, right? Mm-hmm. Which, it's so easy to explain to people. It's like, what if it's not a because I've had like Larry Sanger from original founder of Wikipedia, right? Mm-hmm. He specifically does not like DAOs because of the issue with whales, right? That a whale can come in and take it over, in which case, what's the point? And that's why our answer was very much to plug in behavior, because then essentially, in some cases, you might say there's no token involved in it. It is only behavior. You could do a mix token and behavior. We've with Den, we did this, and I know of another system that's about to do something very similar, where they're somewhat bootstrapping the governance before they have wide adoption with the tokens. So they have the builders tokens, which will then lead into, okay, now that we have behaviors that are measurable, that becomes a governance component. And then you also have the ability with those original builder tokens to reward someone doing real work to integrate the system. You know, you're a builder, now you have a you can weigh in on this this side of the vote. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. So
I'm taking notes. So when I look down, if you look down, it's
that's cool. So that's what I would do. I would say, you know, you could you know, we could push the governance side, but yeah, I mean, I think in the end, we really will help ourselves if we have governance that can be actually run decentralized. And then after that, then we reward people to build, you know, some developer could probably in less than a week develop an integration with GitHub, for instance, and with Gnosis or Safe, is it Safe.io or whatever it is now. You imagine like, oh, any community could come in, set this up, invite the right members. If they have an NFT project, it could be tokenized totally just the NFTs. They can apply behavior if they want to. But essentially that they'd be able to control with these very simple votes, they'd be able to control what's happening on, you know, there's multi-sig wallet or whatever else.
Going back to your idea about the each layer would have its own, say, decentralization and decentralization costs being more federated, but would still tie back to the mining and all of the other functionalities within DIN, chat, DM,
right,
what have you, being able to view and interact with the other layers.
Right.
Does that create more complexity, which would create a higher propensity of breakage? Being all more self-contained.
Yeah, it could.
And
it
not
kind
federated?
of depends, because if we decentralize the, let's pretend like we ignore the LCP. Even those might be separated, they might be together, whatever.
Right.
It's very likely. I don't know this. That's one of the questions we have. Do we run this like a single cluster where the data store, the chain, and the backend services and the UI deployment are running as kind of as one unit? Or is the data store and the chain two separate units and the backend services are another? We don't know that side yet. And that would kind of tell us, you know, what are the complexities? Because, you know, the biggest complexity will be the data synchronization. You know, if you're running your own chain and your own DIN, they wouldn't have to be in sync. But as soon as we're saying, okay, you're running a separate instance, it's going to have to directly interoperate either by proxy or more likely by direct access to the data store, which is where that's where it gets hairy. Where, you know, how do we secure the back end from, you know, somebody who might be a, you know, nefarious who's trying to pretend like they're running a layer, right? So, but there are various ways to do that. Like you can do, you know, we can make it so that you know, edits are impossible, for example. You know, only writes. So it's like a write once, which is, you know, what a chain would be anyway. So you have the chain and then you have the data store. You know, maybe that's how we do it. That's a deeper question. But, you know, we've already designed it mostly so that it would be doable, because that was one of the very early considerations we had is, you know, how do we deal if the Hong Kong protesters came in, or if somebody from, you know, Egypt during the, you know, one of their past events. So essentially, yeah, it was, you know, we kind of planned for that it could run. And a lot of the planning was actually more economical. Like we were worried about if it's hidden or separated, then how could you possibly make it fair when you're mining based upon this? And we said, well, essentially, if it's not visible to everyone, then it's outside the economy. So you can use the tools, but the mining isn't there, right? So
I like I do like the idea of it being federated, like you had described. That is clever, smart, has some certain advantages. What has served me well in management and in my entrepreneurship in various companies is that always the KISS principle.
yes.
One reason for the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, was just so that it seemed to be stronger, less breakable. But more importantly for me, it was because I'm a personality type. I've often been described as what's called a quick start. Hurry up, let's get it to market, or hurry up, let's get it going. But still quality focused, but maybe not quite as quality focused as others, just because I wanted to get ahead of market for first mover advantage.
Yeah.
So KISS principle has helped me in the past that way. And so when I'm thinking of this decentralization, in the back of my mind is there's a need for decentralized truth and decentralized truth postings and facts posting that's recorded elsewhere and saved and maintained, as well as a community like what is it called, wisdom of the crowd, determining what is factual and accurate, and they're better at it than that example of the fair and the butchers versus the general. So Den's got that advantage, and I want to be able to use that and spread the word on it and take advantage of it. So keeping it simple in its decentralization does two things for me. Like I said, maybe we can get it done quicker, cheaper, and get out there faster than if who knows if this is true. DESO is out there and doesn't have a component of shall we say free speech, or does have a free speech and has a chest full of money to throw at that. We could lose that first mover advantage. Because I don't think there's really a true decentralized social media app out there or software out there that is really First Amendment focused.
That's true. And the beauty would be...
So there's no reason we shouldn't be huge.
Oh, I agree. And that's the thing. Imagine if we say, okay, now it's decentralized. So we wake up tomorrow, it's all decentralized. We might have still a few, the mobile app, we might have things like that to do. And obviously in that decentralized network, constantly, is it working fast enough? What's it costing, right? Things like that. But let's say it takes off. We could, there are ways where people could run it. Now I don't know. There are a couple of things that we've thought about, and it depends upon how those networks work, what's possible. But either way, there's some interesting stuff we could do. And
what about BitTorrent?
Well, the thing, real quick, the thing is though that how civil everything is. It would be interesting to see, does that go away? Because even when we had big, takeoff, even when we had a lot of drama, it was still relatively civil compared to, Reddit or Twitter. So anyway,
agreed.
So you were saying torrent.
I don't know. I'm not savvy enough on the architectural or technical side to be able to say. And when BitTorrent, you lose so much market once you bring that into the equation.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would think, there's so many, BitTorrent, isn't that the dark web? And you got to stay away from that,
Yeah.
for the normies.
Yeah, and we like say we might, there might be some component that uses BitTorrent for image hosting, or we already have an integration BitTorrent
Right.
video hosting, but
Right.
nobody's using it.
I think
And
it's nobody's using it because nobody knows how,
yeah, yeah, probably,
or even knows it exists or is capable
that's
of it.
probably more likely. Yeah, because it's I can't remember how, but it's relatively simple. You just have to seed it and then put the torrent file in, and it should theoretically actually stream. At least
Right.
we haven't tested it in a couple of years, but it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
The original intent was to have video content from your community where you by seeding it, we'd have the metrics and we'd be able to say, okay, you get this reward in matter mining from that layer, blah blah blah. So anyway, pretty good
And
stuff.
all right. Next item that I have, or question in regards to decentralization. We don't know all the pieces. We don't know the size or what pieces to use and what those costs are associated with. So I know it's extremely difficult at this junction to kind of give me a number.
Right.
But I'm asking if you can give me some sort of range. Is a range, do you think at this stage, $10,000, $100,000, $100,000 plus? If I'm going to go out there and start looking at, and who knows how we would integrate this, but to get some kind of income or investment, I have no earthly idea.
Right.
What number do I plug? And then everyone knows this is okay. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to multiply it by 1.25 or 1.5 because everything gets cost overruns. There's more delays. There's time because, this we thought would work, but it didn't. Hey, this would be a better idea. Let's delete, and let's rebuild it from this way. I get it because I've been down that road before. So, what?
So I would say
range can you give me?
Okay, so for operational costs, just running it, the calculator that we had for a month, based upon the best metrics I had, and there might be differences in the metrics because we might have to have something redundant because it won't let us deploy it the way we do right now. Who knows?
Right.
But if it was all running as it is now, and provided I had accurate enough, which they were very rule of thumb numbers for RAM and storage and all that, it said like less than $5 a month. And I tend to not believe that, but I've also been told that it's somewhat subsidized because the people running it are mining and they want people to use it, so they don't want it to cost a lot yet. So and it used to be free, so it very well might be correct. On the upper end of it, I would think 500 or 1,000.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, it'd be something closer to that. And because I'll tell you right now, I mean, it used to cost us a lot to run it, but we've changed our infrastructure, and we're paying more like $50 to $200 a month, give or take. I don't know exactly, but it's something
whatever it is. But okay.
For development,
and that changes by size and interaction, and correct?
At least theoretically, yeah. Because it would be, I don't know what they charge for network. I don't know what they, how they, and storage will keep going up. But the crazy thing about storage is we could very well institute something where ranked by content, so something that's marked spam, we drop the storage on that really quick, and we essentially rank stuff for purging by the consensus and the value that the network gave it when it evaluated. So the stuff that's real value would be held much, much longer. And then when they started to eke down and you realize, hey, this meme should be saved. It's an original meme by so-and-so. And that it would at least give everybody a bit of time to go through and say, oh, shoot, we don't want to delete that. I'll throw some matter in for it, or we don't want to, or maybe even some dollars in, or at least it gives me the opportunity to store it on my own and with the provenance from the blockchain. And so even when it does get deleted, I can always prove this was that piece of content, or maybe even throw it into, hey, yeah, I'm going to seed this. So like say, maybe there's a purge, and I'd have to figure out how to organize that, but that could be crazy cool because essentially, yeah, instead of it being hosted off of the decentralized servers we're paying for, it's going to be hosted off of a torrent, which is a bunch of people who thought, no, this is precious data. We need to keep it.
Right.
What
about, well, the other thing too is we have to think of a royalty and support fee to Dragon Chain of some sort.
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah,
that number's going to need to be identified as well. And
then development costs too.
Like development, that was where I was going to, and that's when I was throwing those numbers out in the beginning. Was who knows how many hours?
Yeah, right? I mean, right now I would bet we could do this in less than a full month's full-time work for one of the devs, give or take. So round measure, if we said 10 grand, right? Because I would give above or below. It's like I would think it would fit easily within 10 grand, and within a month of full-time work, right? If it were funded. So if it's not funded, the issue becomes it's when the devs have free time from the other customer work, right?
As normal.
Yeah,
as it is normal in the software world, right?
That's a very reasonable number, though, for something like that. And that's there's a lot of guess there because
I know
we've never deployed to one of these networks. I'm very much hoping that it's what I think it is, which is it's kind of a standardized. I need to just take my Docker containers and deploy them in this way, and I know that there's some level of networking configuration. Like say, I don't know enough how if they somehow synchronize the data, but they also somehow it lets the users go either round robin or based upon where they are in the world to where it's hosted. I don't know though.
But then we have to add testing, stress testing, the bugs fixes associated with that. So we need to add that into not just the cost of writing it.
And that is the other side of it. Because we don't know how it would scale yet, right? I would imagine it should scale really well. You can definitely do more. It starts with 3 to 5 instances that would be running it redundant, and I don't know if that can expand past that. But whatever it is, that should handle a lot. But there's always again, not knowing this, is there any reason that we would want to have a failover, or if all those are down, that there is one hosted that is also marked on their network, even though Den or Dragon Chain or some other partner is hosting it? That's a question too. I'd wonder about. We don't know yet. So,
well, that kind of covers my items that I had.
Cool.
I recall. Let me take a look at my whiteboard here. Yeah, those were my questions were associated with the the decentralization of Den.
Cool.
And just like I said, I matching up my and I have a little bit of an A-type personality as well. So from a managerial standpoint, so my point is, keeping it simple, quick start, get it out there, get it ahead of everybody, and make sure that it's simple enough that there's quality and stability, and then let's add to it without breaking it. And that's always been worked for me. So if we can get down that road, it gets me even that much more excited about Den's potentialities.
Nice.
And I'm not even talking about the price of MTR or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I think eventually that's how we're going to be able to maintain those operating costs on a monthly basis down the road. So
yeah,
which is another conversation, in another DENDAO call. But
And that's the other thing too. Now I don't want to get into the economics of this. One thing to consider for that, at the point, and you could do it, let's say tomorrow, that if you get mining because you've built and maintained the mobile app, maybe you're doing something on some component of the front end, so you get something there that DENDAO has, said, okay, you get this much one time or ongoing or whatever. Imagine if that was actually, and I don't know, man, this is probably too much to think about, but if instead of donating money, because that's part of the thing, if there is an issue, hey, I have to put money in order to pay for Den's hosting, or to pay for my layer's hosting, whatever that might be.
Right.
So the biggest issue will be that, let's say we're using Flux. I don't know what their native token is, right? But we have to get that native token. So you give us dollars, we somehow have to convert it. How precisely does that work? And it might be.
Or is it donations? Or is it donations in the beginning?
That's what if it were, though, let's say in this, the hardest case is this, like a subscription where, look, I have Matter, you're going to pull Matter at my account or whatever, and I'm just going to pay it, right? If we had something like that behavior liquidity pool, and not us, somebody is running it. I don't want to run the damn thing for sure. But let's say it's running over here, that potentially people who are putting in, let's say dollars, whether it's ETH or dollars, I don't know, but let's say it's dollars, that are donating that, would be credited and would get a better ratio in that pool. That and potentially points or other things on Den, right? So imagine all that stuff going on, that it could function as the way, for me as a user, I'm just putting Matter in and it's converting it to whatever the Flux platform uses or whatever, and there we go. Stuff like that could be nice, but and then maybe I'm overthinking it. There are some simpler ways that come to mind to do that, but in a way that I can just say, yes, I'm going to subscribe to this layer, which is going to pay for hosting it in, right?
Right.
Would be nice.
It would actually help with the inactive layers as well, because they're going to just fall off.
Yeah, they would just go away, which is interesting. Very interesting.
They would still be able to be turned back on, and their data would be there.
Yep. Well, there's the other thing too.
The lot owners of those layers would just need to, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Depending upon, we'd have to run this through a spreadsheet, but imagine too. I mean, it's almost like those layers could go into some form of
hibernation or penalty.
Well, something where, okay, I'll come in and pay for it, So essentially, I can take over the layer. Yeah, and it could then be on the other side of it. Hey, this layer is going into whatever we call that, not bankruptcy, but something.
Remember,
state. And all of us on the other side, it would be like, okay, you're going to switch the old lot to the new lot. And if you have old lot, you have a bonus to come over here. But anybody new can come over here and just
there you go. There you go. That's
something
another option too.
Right. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't want to tread on their property, ownership. I don't want to. I want to do the right thing for those.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That might come back. Going along with that, in the software world, when your maintenance fees have lapsed and your software seems to be working fine but you haven't been paying your maintenance fees, and now it fails and you're calling support, the question is, all right, well, you got to either catch up on your maintenance fees or you got to pay this much right now for us to help you. That's kind of how I'm thinking of these inactive layers and might,
Well, we had, I mean, LCP was, and maybe we could remove this. LCP was intended to be immune to what I'm about to describe, which was if you have a layer that drops in activity or in score. So essentially is far down out of the top 10 or top 20 or something of the total layers ranking, that you're going to have to start paying fees. And that's how we make, at least some money to pay for operations. And if you don't, then we have to figure out what's the process that's fair. Okay, if you're not going to pay for these, then it was over here. And we originally said that was going to be true for all LCPs, but we could take that away because there are a lot of LCP layers that are not at all active, right? They're, so yeah. I don't know. We can figure that out. It'd be fun.
Well, we're further down the line here with the decentralization of Den. I just want I want this to work out. So behind the scenes, maybe I can start thinking of raising capital for this journey.
That would be good. That would be good. I mean, that would help a lot if you, I don't have the right network for it, especially for social media, right?
Let's go down that road. We'll see what happens. Going back over my notes. That's all I had.
Okay. Oh, and on that, if that does come up, let us know any help you need, or like we have several decks. We have a lot of other stuff kind of already there that could just be, edited, updated if it makes sense. Okay. So we can do that. Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything else either.
I think that's it. There was no other community feedback or anything. So I think that was it, right?
All right. I'll
thank you.
See you again soon. Thanks a bunch. I am 4am. Thanks everybody for any questions that do pop up either now or already there. Let me double check comments real quick. Okay. Nope, no new comments. I have to make sure. All right. See you next week. Thanks, man. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.